Hello, and welcome to my channel. In today's recap episode, we will examine the Iceblade Sorcerer who shall rule the world. The legendary Iceblade Sorcerer, celebrated for leading the nation to victory 3 years ago, conceals his true identity as Ray White. Seeking an everyday life at Arnold Academy after enduring a brutal war, Ray befriends Amelia Rose, Evie Armstrong, and Elisa while keeping his past hidden. Despite facing ostracism for his ordinary status, Ray is thrust into a conspiracy within the Academy, tasked with uncovering a mysterious spy's motives. Determined to safeguard his friends and loved ones, Ray confronts his haunting past, ready to do whatever it takes. Let's unravel the mystery behind this thrilling series. The story begins with our main character, Ray White. It is his first day into the Arnold Magic Academy of Sorcery. Just like every other student would have experienced on their first day at school, Ray doesn't know how to find his way around the academy. Ray apologizes to a lady he bumped into, telling her it is his first day at the academy. Surprised to hear this, the girl and the other student realizes that Ray is an ordinary, which explains his late resumption. According to the story, there are 2 classes of people, the noble and the ordinary. Ray will be the first ordinary to attend Arnold Magic Academy. Not long, 4 students who appear to be bullies, spearheaded by Albert Alium, approach Ray. Albert Alium, who isn't pleased by Ray's presence at the academy because of his status as an ordinary, tells him that he isn't welcomed at Arnold Magic Academy, but Ray rebuffs his threat and tells him that he has a lot to learn at the academy, which is why he is there. Amelia Rose, a lady from one of the top 3 nobles, appears just in time to calm the situation as Alium grumbles away. Amelia introduces herself to Ray, and unlike other students, she doesn't seem to have an issue with his status. Abby Garnett, the principal of Arnold Academy of Sorcerer, introduces herself to the students as she addresses and welcomes them to the academy. Just then, Amelia Rose comes on stage to address the incoming students, as she is the representative of the incoming students at the academy. We get to see the first view of the classroom where Ray introduces himself to his colleagues. Helena Grady introduces herself to Ray as the homegrown teacher and also tells him to address her as Miss Gray. As Ray walks to his seat, he interacts with Amelia, which comes as a surprise to the rest of the students. Ray gets distracted in class as he experiences some flashbacks, but Miss Gray calls back his attention with an explosive chalk which leaves his face white. The topic discussion ongoing in the class before Ray's short blackout is about the sorcerer ranks, with Miss Gray asking Amelia to tell the class what she knows about it. According to Amelia, there are 5 ranks established in the Society of Sorcery: the bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and the sacred rank, known as the Grand. Miss Gray buttresses that there are 7 greatest sorcerers in the world, and they are the pinnacle of sorcery that all sorcerers strive to match. Miss Gray explains further that the identity of the sorcerers is a mystery with only a few known. Among them is the blazing sorcerer Abby Garnett, the academy principal. Another sorcerer whose identity is not concealed is the spell-binding sorcerer Carol Caroline. And finally, she makes mention of the Far East war hero, the Iceblade Sorcerer. The Iceblade Sorcerer is the one who put an end to the war in the Far East and vanished thereafter. She reminds the student that their goal is to become one of the 7 great sorcerers. In what seems to look like a magic lab, Miss Gray teaches the students how to practice sorcery. While Amelia is able to replicate what Miss Gray created through sorcery, Ray struggles to do the same, prompting the other students to doubt his ability. Ray meets a new character in Elisa Griffith in the Academy Library. Elisa is half elf, half human. Ray introduces himself to Elisa and asks if she is looking for Ainsworth, as she asked for it while in class. Elisa says she is a fan of Dr. Ainsworth's book, as she is her role model. Elisa is glad to meet another fan in Ray, who also confesses his love for Ainsworth. Ray compliments Elisa for having beautiful hair, and she immediately realizes that she isn't in her hoodie and her elf ear is out exposed. Ray tells her not to feel insecure about it, as they are lovely. Ray walks into his dorm and sees Evie Armstrong waiting for him. Evie is one of Ray's classmates, and unlike the rest, he doesn't care about Ray's status. Instead, he only cares about muscularity. How weird. The next morning, Ray goes on a morning jog. He comes across Rebecca Bradley, who is attending to the flowers in the garden. They exchange pleasantries and introduce themselves to each other. Evie tells Ray that Bradley is one of the top 3 noble families. According to him, Bradley, Rose, and Olgren are the top 3 noble families. Ray bumps into Clarice Cleave, a girl who has so much admiration for her pigtailed hair. Clarice introduces herself to Ray, but she is a bit disappointed that Ray doesn't know about her family. At Principal Abby Garnett's office, Ray walks in to greet her. From their conversation, it is obvious they knew each other before they met at the academy, as Abby tells Ray not to address her as Colonel, but he should call her Abby instead. Ray appears on the field as he prepares to take on Allium. Full of himself, Allium is bent on defeating Ray as he believes he doesn't have enough sorcerer power to be at the academy. But to his surprise and that of the other students, Ray defeats him without breaking a sweat as Abby watches on from the rooftop, acknowledging Ray as the Iceblade Sorcerer. Ray joins the Environmental Research Club as he looks to enjoy his youthful years. The club contains hefty guys who conduct environmental research. Ray is only accepted into the club because of his sturdy body, and he is even more appreciated when he shows the members of the club his gold hunter license. Ray also joins the gardening club with Rebecca as its head. His love for flowers prompts his decision to join the club, but he must convince club secretary Dina, who is against his decision of wanting to join the club. Dina believes Ray wants to join the club because he has his eyes set on Rebecca, and it isn't ideal for a man to step into the flower garden. Rebecca decides to leave the decision to Dina to make as she asks her, to give Ray a test, and whatever she decides is final. Dina takes Ray to a garden full of weeds and gives him the task of transforming it into a flower garden, despite the soil not being workable. Ray begins the first day clearing the weed all alone by himself. On the second day, Ray tills the soil and makes heaps, while Rebecca watches on from behind. She brings him fruit sandwiches as he is taking a break from work. Ray acknowledges the fact that she is from the top 3 noble families and also the student council president. Suddenly, they hear some students practicing sword fighting and they take a look. Rebecca tells Ray that the students are practicing for the upcoming Magic Chevalier. It is a competition to find the strongest magic sword fighter. Rebecca stares at Ray's muscles and she asks if she can touch it, which Ray agrees to. Ray completes the task given to him by Dina on the 4th day, much to the surprise of Dina and everyone at the gardening club. Reluctantly, Dina gives Ray the pass mark and welcomes him into the club. Abby invites Ray to her office, handing him a letter which says a spy from the Empire is inside the kingdom. She warns that there is a probability that the spy must have infiltrated the academy, and while the staff have been warned, she wants him to report to her if he finds anything whilst also wanting it done in secret. Ray finds Clarice alone in the forest and he asks her what she is doing alone there, startling her in the process. Clarice tells him that she is watching pill bugs, saying people find it weird that she loves insects being a member of the noble family. Ray tells her that he doesn't find it weird that she loves insects, admitting that he also loves bugs. Clarice freaks out when Ray calls her his friend. She doesn't have any friends, so it comes as a surprise for her that Ray is declaring to be her friend. Clarice tries to hide her delight, but she is unable to contain her excitement as she had just made her first friend. They both agree to meet up later to talk about bugs. At the class, Miss Gray asks Ray to talk about the derivation of sorcery, in which he delivers a great explanation, much to the surprise of his classmates. Miss Gray ends the class before telling everyone that they will be carrying out their practical exercise in the Kafka forest. She asks them to form a group of 4 each as they will be working as a team for the practical exercise. Ray picks Evi and Elisa in his team with 1 spot left. Amelia offers to be the 4th member of their team, much to the surprise of everyone. Miss Gray gives out the instructions to the students with the goal being to reach the center of the forest. They are to hit each checkpoint that is placed in the forest. According to her instructions, the number of stamps they collect affects their final score. She warned that the forest is filled with monsters and they might be forced to duel with them. They have 24 hours to complete the quest. The team of Ray, Evie, Elisa, and Amelia arrange the order in which they move in. Ray decides to move in the middle so he can help out in attacks as he is used to drills like this. The exercise commences and the group march on to the forest. Not long enough, they encounter a butterfly-like monster, but before it poses any threat, Ray cuts it into halves with a single strike. The group finds a stamp thereafter. They take a rest at night, sitting near a small campfire. They discuss Ray's exceptional battle ability as they recall the experiences they had with the monsters during the day. Ray recalls when Miss Lydia Ainsworth, his master, advised him to reveal his secrets to friends he trusts the most, and he thinks the trio of Amelia, Evi, and Elisa are trustworthy people whom he can share his secret with. The next morning, they hear a loud scream from nearby and Ray runs as fast as he can to the scene, leaving the rest behind, as his gut feeling tells him a bad thing has happened there. Ray arrives at the scene. Allium and his group have been attacked by a giant monster, different from the one Ray and his team had encountered. Ray arrives just in time to save Allium from the monster's rage. With a single blow, Ray defeats the monster. Allium feels disappointed that Ray had to save him from the monster. Amelia and the rest arrive. Surprised that he had defeated the huge monster, Amelia questions Ray's true identity. Suddenly, a concealed person uses sorcery to bring the defeated monster back to life. This time around, in a different form. Clara sees the monster as she passes by with her group. Ray tries to fight the monster, but this time around, his first-time strike fails to slice the monster through as it has become abnormally sturdy. The monster attacks Ray, but he blocks it with his sword. Ray decides to reveal his true self as the Iceblade Sorcerer, but before he could transform, Amelia attacks the monster with fire flame, while Evi and Elisa combine their effort to strike the monster. Ray takes advantage of the situation and stabs the monster in the belly before slicing it into two halves, this time taking it down for good. The concealed individual behind the monster watches on from a tree before disappearing into thin air. The group retrieves the last stamp and they share a wonderful moment together. Back at the academy, Amelia and her group are declared the winner of the practical exercise. The crowd refuses to cheer them on because the presence of Ray displeases them. Ray arrives at his old house and Carla welcomes him in. Ray's master, Miss Lydia, has been anticipating his arrival. They converse over a cup of tea with Miss Lydia, telling him that if he feels the need to call out his power, he should do so without hesitating. She says, after all, she was the one that passed the mantle of the Iceblade Sorcerer to him. Miss Lydia says the reason she invited him over is because of a rumor that has been spreading among the Sorcerer researchers. She informs Ray that the rumor spreading is about engram. Engram is the place where memories of sorcery are stored. Instead of spending time analyzing the brain using sorcery, there are some groups of people known as eugenics that cut open sorcerers' brains to rummage inside. According to Miss Lydia, she rejected their invitation to join them, and she believes they are contacting other prominent sorcerers to join them. She urges Ray to stop the eugenics from advancing. As they take a stroll in the forest, Ray tells Miss Lydia about the friends he made in school, and she tells him to bring them the next time he comes visiting. Miss Lydia says it is almost June, the time for the Magic Chevalier. She said she won the competition 4 times in a row, and she is sure Ray would also do the same if he decides to participate. But Ray is against the idea of participating in the competition, and prefers to cheer his friends on, a decision Miss Lydia agrees with. Back at the academy, Ray goes on about his daily morning jog routine when he comes across Elisa. She seems to be heading to the library and Ray asks if he could come along, which she agrees to. At the library, they discuss Lydia Ainsworth's book and Luna's love novel, which Elisa finds weird. As they exit the library, Clarice watches on from behind as she is surprised to meet Ray at the library with another lady. Ray meanwhile catches Clarice watching them, so he approaches her and invites her over to lunch. Back at the academy, Ray meets Amelia at the gate as she highlights from a car. Amelia vents, saying the noble gathering she attended is only going to get more frequent thanks to the Magic Chevalier coming up. Amelia asked Ray to follow her to a boutique where she tried on different outfits. Amelia gets scared by an insect in the changing room and rushes out to meet Ray, who isn't too surprised to see her half-naked body. After practice at the Environmental Research Club, Ray meets with Dina, who hands him the key to the gardening club's room, as the rest of the club members will be absent. Ray walks into the gardening club room where he meets Rebecca changing her clothes. He doesn't freak out seeing her half-naked body, but Rebecca on the other hand feels embarrassed. Ray apologizes to an embarrassed Rebecca. They talk about the collective records of the gardening club, with Rebecca showing Ray plants which were modified by sorcery. Ray tells Rebecca that he is part of the organization staff for the Magic Chevalier, and he wants to use the opportunity to cheer Amelia. Out of curiosity, Ray asks Rebecca if there is no one from the third noble family attending their academy. According to Rebecca, the Algrins, the third of the top 3 noble families, have attended the Diome Academy of Sorcery right from time. She concludes that the eldest daughter of the Algrins family will be a good rival for Amelia. The students receive instructions from their teacher as they prepare for the Magic Chevalier. Amelia easily defeats her sparring partner. She chose to fight Ray as her next opponent. Amelia takes the fight to Ray with the crowd rooting for her. Ray instead decides to be defensive as he analyzes Amelia's moves. Amelia tells him that she chose to fight him because of his amazing sword skill. The fight continues, and as Ray tries to hit a huge strike on Amelia, he suffers a flashback and a lightning strikes him down. Amelia is then declared the winner. As they were having lunch, Ray tells a curious Evi that he has a strict master who taught him sword fight sorcery. Just then, Allium arrives to challenge Ray to a duel. Ray accepts the challenge and the students gather around to watch the two battle on the field. Elisa notices a barrier surrounding the field, but she doesn't know what it is for. The fight commences and the concealed individual behind the huge monster at the Kafka forest watches on from a treetop. Ray dodges every of his attacks, which infuriates a raging Allium more. We get to learn about Allium's past life. He was born into the Allium house as the heir, but his family was far from being noble as they were considered middle tier. He gets to witness his father humiliated several times as a kid. This motivated him to strive hard to get his family to the very top. Back at the fight scene, Ray blocks every of Alium's spells, surprising Alium and every other student around. Ray decides to attack Alium, and his strike surprises Alium, who considered him to be a secret noble. Ray tells Alium that he is an ordinary, and while heritage is important to Alium, it doesn't make him a good sorcerer. Alium invokes an extensive spell in the shape of a long flaming dragon, but Ray slices it into two halves with ease. A defeated and humiliated Alium falls on his knees, screaming at the top of his voice. Amelia asks Ray what his true identity is, and as he is about to spill the truth, a spell binds Amelia and the students on the field. The concealed individual is the mastermind behind the spell, and he approaches Ray. The concealed individual reveals herself to be Miss Gray. Ray promises Amelia that he is going to tell her the truth once he deals with Miss Gray. Ray tells Miss Gray that he knows she is part of eugenics, and she wants to get the students' engrams. He also reveals that Miss Gray was behind the monsters in Kafka Forest, as her intention was to abduct the students. Ray also says Miss Gray was the one who incited Alium. Miss Gray attacks Ray, knowing fully well that Ray can only strike her if he is close to her due to his combat skills. She uses her spell to chase him around. Miss Gray then diverts her spell towards Amelia and the other students, which prompts Ray to finally release his Iceblade Sorcerer powers. Ray transforms into Iceblade Sorcerer, and he invokes the Blade of Ice spell. Miss Gray is surprised to find out that Ray is the Iceblade Sorcerer, as she believes the Iceblade Sorcerer had disappeared after the Far East War. Miss Gray attacks Ray with the Causality Draco spell, but Ray repels it with the Anti-Material Code. A panicked Miss Gray tries to run away, but Ray strikes her with the Flame Lock. She still can't believe that Ray is the Iceblade Sorcerer. Trying to find her way out alive, Miss Gray tries to catch off guard by offering her a position at eugenics, but Ray is unfazed by her sneak attack. Instead, he decides to capture her alive, but Miss Gray has one more left in her arsenal as she injects herself in the brain, thereby activating the Dark Triad system. Miss Gray transforms into a huge monster, and she says Ray forced her into using the result of all her research. Miss Gray launches a fury of fire spells on Ray, but it is to no effect as Ray deals with her spells with ease. With not much left in her arsenal, Miss Gray attacks Ray with the Mind Infiltration sorcery, but an unfazed Ray counters it. Ray's body starts to get covered in ice, with Miss Gray telling him that he isn't in control of his body. Miss Gray takes advantage and strikes Ray, which makes him bleed on the face. Ray invokes the Ice Bloom Profusion spell, which covers Miss Gray in ice, locking her in an ice pillar with red roses blooming around it. Ray collapses on the floor as his friends comes running towards him. He is relieved that he is able to save them, and he falls unconscious. Flashback to Ray's past. When Miss Lydia first found him wounded in the forest, she takes him to the soldiers' base where her friends ask her who the little boy is. She explains that she saw him crying alone in the forest. Lydia is disappointed and furious to hear from Abby that they are refusing to take Ray in. Ray regains consciousness, and Lydia is delighted to see him back to life. He tells them his name, and Lydia immediately introduces herself to Ray. Ray walks in as Caroline and Lydia are trying to plead with the Colonel to let them take him in. Ray then admits to Lydia that he wants to stay with her. Lydia tells the Colonel that she will take responsibility for Ray, and also send him to her sister who has a daughter around Ray's age. The Colonel questions Lydia's decision by asking if there is something she sees in Ray. Lydia tells him she sees something in Ray, and he needs proper guidance. 6 years later, during the Far East War, Ray assists the soldiers in fighting against their enemies. Back at the camp, the death of Konpeki and Raymer, 2 of the 7 Grands, is discussed. Abby assumes that the Awel Empire is interfering with the war. They try to convince Ray to stay out of the war, as it is going to get fierce and he is still too young, but Ray isn't ready to back out as he wants to offer his help. On the battlefield, Ray watches the Colonel die, and this makes him overheat, a huge blast which causes a lot of damage. Back to the present day, Ray wakes up at the infirmary with Miss Lydia and Abby by his side. Ray, worried about his friends, asks for their whereabouts. Abby tells him that they suffer from slight magical energy deficiency, but they are fine. Later, Amelia together with the rest of the group come to visit Ray. Ray apologizes to them for keeping his identity. He tells them he is one of the 7 Grands, the Iceblade Sorcerer. According to Ray, he overheated in the final battle, a situation in which he loses control of his engram. This led to Miss Lydia unable to walk, and many of his friends suffered injuries and casualties. Ray says he hid his past from them because he feels so sad for having so much blood on his hand. Amelia comforts him by saying it is all in the past, and she believes the person that he is now. Evie, Elisa, and Clarice also show their support for Ray. At night, Allium walks into the infirmary to see Ray. Allium apologizes to Ray, as he believes he has done more wrong to him. Ray accepts Allium's apology and tells him that he understands. He acknowledged his shortcomings. While having a bath in the tub, Amelia reflects on her life. She feels she will never be good enough as she is empty inside, and she feels like a bird in a cage. The students get a new homegrown teacher in Caroline. She re-explains the purpose of the Magic Chevalier to the students, with Ray not looking pleased to see her. Ray furiously bumps into Miss Abby's office to ask why Carol is their new teacher. Abby tells him that she invited Carol in as she was free, and it is also her duty to ensure the safety of the academy. Ray suggests he helps Abby out as he doesn't want Carol at the academy. Carol is the only person Ray can't handle. Ray assumes the students only like Carol because they don't know her true nature. Just then, Carol walks in with Ray getting startled by her appearance. On the training field, Ray and Elisa watch on as Amelia takes on her sparring partner. Ray tells Elisa that Amelia will crush her opponent, and in split seconds, Amelia wins the duel. Ray notices Amelia doesn't have the expression of someone that wants to win, but instead, someone handling a mundane task. We get to see a flashback where Amelia's father gives her a stern warning concerning the Magic Chevalier. He tells her that she cannot lose to Ariane of the Algren family no matter what. Rebecca tells Ray that Ariane Algren is Amelia's biggest worry. According to her, Ariane can turn being a noble to a pride and use that as her strength, which makes her different from Amelia. Amelia qualifies for the Magic Chevalier in first place as she won all her matches, while Allium qualifies in second place. Clarice notices a change in Allium's attitude as she has never seen him that serious before. Ray approaches Amelia the next morning to confront her about her worries. Amelia admits that Ariane being in the competition makes her worried as she is stronger than her. Ray offers to train Amelia and make her stronger with the help of her Ainsworth-style bootcamp book his master gave to him. The book was what he used to complete his foundation. Amelia agrees to take Ray's help, but Ray warns that the path ahead will be brutal, but it will make her stronger than she is. Flashback to Amelia's past, we get to see how she came across Ariane at a nobles' gathering. A young Ariane approaches Amelia to come play with her. Ariane seems to be better than Amelia at everything right from childhood. The two friends thank each other for always being there for each other. The end of their friendship came when Ariane defeated Amelia in a duel with one strike, with Amelia's father watching. Amelia admits Ariane still considers her a friend, as she was the one who changed towards her. The next morning, Ray approaches Amelia with a mask on his face. He tells Amelia to address him as Master White as he is going to be her instructor in a private training. He also tells her to answer him with Ranger, a word Amelia doesn't seem familiar with. Amelia's first task is to run a lap to Kafka Forest and back to where they are, a 20 kilometers race. After the completion of the lap, Ray tells a worn-out Amelia that the next training will be much heavier than the first one. The training goes on for the next few days as Ray makes Amelia do some heavy tasks. Ray comes to wake an exhausted Amelia with a fry pan and a spoon as she is yet to get out of her bed and report for training. Elisa and Clarice accuse Ray of coming into the girls' dormitory. Amelia takes advantage of the opportunity to run away from Ray, but Ray sees her and decides to give her a chase. Ray comes across Allium sitting alone as he is trying to look for Amelia. Allium says he wants to be away from his group as he loves being alone once in a while. Allium asks Ray how he can become strong because regardless of how hard he trains, he still has doubts in his mind. Ray says Allium is already strong without realizing it, and he needs not to worry or have any doubt. Ray's words bring comfort to Allium. Ray uses his ability to find Amelia, as she is hiding in a dark room. Ray drags her to the training ground and tells her there will be a penalty for running away twice. At the Environmental Research Club, Ray pleads with the president to form an Amelia cheering squad. According to Ray, the help of a cheer squad will serve as a huge motivation to Amelia. The members of the club give their approval while the president hands Ray a bag. An unknown lady in Diom's uniform commends Amelia hard work and dedication. Amelia, together with Elisa and Clarice, wonder who the lady is as the lady exits the academy premises. The lady turns out to be Ray, who had transformed himself into a lady's body with the help of what the club president gave him. The purpose of this is to visit Diom Academy to visit Ariane. Ray sneaks into Diom Academy in a cardboard box, but he comes across a little girl crying. The girl will turn out to be Ariane's sister, who got lost trying to find her big sister. At Diom Academy, the students are stunned to see the disguised Ray, as they have never seen someone as pretty as her in their school before. Ray has introduced himself as Lily White to the little girl, and he discovers that she is Tiana Olgren, Ariane's little sister. Lily finds Ariane sitting alone drinking tea. Ariane thanks her for bringing her sister to her while apologizing for the trouble Tiana might have caused her. Ariane tells Lily that she knows she isn't a student of their academy. With nothing left to hide, Ray speaks with a masculine voice, which surprises Ariane. Ray introduces himself and explains how he used the inside code and sorcery to transform himself. Ariane, meanwhile, is familiar with Ray White's name, as rumor has it that he is the first ordinary to attend Arnold Magic Academy. To repay Lily for saving her sister, Ariane offers to battle Lily in a duel, with Tiana cheering for both of them. Ariane comes out on top as she cuts Lily's sword in 2 halves. Lily praises Ariane's skill at the end. Ray tells Ariane that he won't be participating at the Magic Chevalier, as he will be helping out as a committee member. He reveals to her that he is helping Amelia train and that she is going to win the amateur tournament. Ariane is glad to see that Amelia has a friend like Ray, and she is looking forward to battling Amelia at the tournament. Back at the academy, Amelia, Elisa, and Clarice are surprised to see Ray in a female body. Ray tells them that he had to go on a mission because of his appearance. The next day, Ray brings his friends to his master's house. Evie, Elisa, Clarice, and Amelia all introduce themselves to Miss Lydia. Carla invites Ray to the kitchen to help her out. She delivers concerning news to Ray about the Grim Reaper, the assassination group of the Avon Empire. Carla assumes the Grim Reaper will disrupt the upcoming Magic Chevalier. She, however, tells Ray to be observant. Meanwhile, Miss Lydia shows Amelia the letters Ray sent to her concerning Amelia, as he believes she is hiding something from him. Miss Lydia says she taught Ray everything there is to know, but there is one thing she can't teach him, the human heart, and the reason she sent him to Arnold's academy. She tells Amelia that Ray is worried about her, and if she feels the need to reveal her past, she should rely on her friends. The next day at the academy, Ray notices that Amelia has become more robust as she continues her training. He recalls Miss Lydia telling him to help Amelia as much as possible. On the last day of training, Ray promises to give Amelia a shining badge if she cuts off the rose on his chest, as that is her graduation test. The scene shifts to the arena, where the competition will occur. Abby addresses the competitors and tells them to put in their best performance. Ariane approaches Amelia as she prepares for her fight. Ariane notices the change in Amelia and promises to face her in the finals. At the competition's semi-final, Dina is at commentary while Miss Carroll is analyzing the fight beside her. Amelia is up against Shine Gerard from the Mercross Academy of Sorcery. Amelia defeats Gerard with a perfectly executed move, the one-hit sorcery technique, as Gerard's rose burns to ashes. Ray heads to the locker room to prepare Alium for his fight, and he gives him his rose. The next matchup is between Ariane and Alium. The fight begins with both competitors attacking their swords fiercely. Ariane takes the upper hand as she knocks Alium off his feet. Not wanting to give up, Alium attacks Ariane, surprisingly knocking off her sword, almost feeling the taste of victory. Alium tries to slash off Ariane's rose, but Ariane counters it with a quick strike, knocking him out of the arena circle. As Ray walks through the hallway, he notices a spirit presence behind him. The leader of the environmental club approaches Ray and takes him to a room where Miss Lydia, Abby, and Caroline are present with some mysterious figures. Carla tells Ray about the Hale family. They have been responsible for the kingdom's intelligence agency. Ray is surprised to hear that Carla is one of the best intelligence agents in the kingdom. His surprise doesn't end there, as he discovers that his club's president is Miss Carla's junior brother. Abby tells Ray that the Grim Reaper has infiltrated the Magic Chevalier, and they aim to kidnap the daughters of the top noble houses or murder them. Abby tells Ray that he is likely to encounter them, and she wants him to be vigilant. Elisa and Clarice come to inform him that Amelia refuses to come out of her room as she complains of fatigue, but they suspect there is more to her staying indoors. Ariane is seen practicing in her room as her father walks in carrying Tiana on his arm. While having their regular workout session, Evie tells Ray to go and visit Amelia. Ray meets Elisa and Clarice standing outside Amelia's door as they urge him to help Amelia. Ray stands outside the door and calls out to Amelia. He tells her to listen, as she doesn't have to open the door. Ray tells Amelia how he feels about her, and that he doesn't want to break her heart. Ray's words make Amelia invite him into her room. Amelia says all she has done all her life is cosplay the Amelia Rose everyone expected, and she hasn't been herself. Amelia says she feels like a bird in a cage and doesn't think she can beat Ariane. Ray comforts her, telling her to find a reason to live. He says he wants to keep on living by her side, which brings tears of joy to Amelia. The final day arrives as Amelia and Ariane prepare to battle each other. Ray shows his support as he gives Amelia her rose. The president of the Environmental Research Club informs Ray that Clarice and 8 other noble students have gone missing. Ray says he will head below as he feels something ominous coming from below. while the president says he will inform Miss Lydia and the rest before joining Ray. The fight between Amelia and Ariane commences, and Ariane amused everyone by throwing away her sword. In full motion, she uses the same attack to defeat Allium on Amelia as she intends to start the battle on a solid foot. Ariane knocks Amelia off her feet, stunning everyone in the arena. Ariane continued her attack, and she nearly knocked Amelia off the arena circle, but Amelia countered with the butterfly effect, which left Ariane surprised. Ray finds Clarice and the other noble students unconscious. Suddenly, a wide area interference spell surrounds the area. It means the area is now shut off from the outside world. The Grim Reapers appear as if they intend to kill both Clarice and Ray. Ray unleashes the Chronos Lock and attacks the Grim Reapers with icicle blades. The fight between Amelia and Ariane continues at the arena. Carol feels Ray's power as she commentates alongside Dina. The Grim Reapers appear to flee as they cannot handle Ray, but Ray stops them in their tracks and traps them in ice using the Diamond Dust spell. The president arrives and he tells Ray to leave the rest to him and go and show his support to Amelia, who needs it. As the fight gets more intense, Ariane decides to use the Ogre Scintilla move on Amelia, the best spell move in her arsenal. Ariane becomes too fast for Amelia as she knocks her around, utilizing her fast speed, as Amelia's explosion can't get close to her. Ariane finally knocks down Amelia, and the spectators begin to think the match is over as Amelia is brutally hit. Amelia admits that she will lose, as no strength is left for her again. Suddenly, she hears Ray screaming at the top of his voice, telling her to get up. Amelia suddenly regains her strength with so much light glowing around her. Amelia unleashes the butterfly effect in full flight. Ariane tries to attack her, but she cannot reach her as Amelia disappears at every inch. Carol tells Dina that not everyone can use the original interference concept as Amelia has done. The fight continues, and despite Ariane's efforts, every one of her attacks on Amelia is futile. Amelia starts to overheat due to the effect the spell has on her engram and starts to bleed from her nose and mouth. Amelia and Ariane collide at full speed, resulting in Ariane's rose falling off her chest. The battle comes to an end, and Amelia comes out victorious. The two friends appreciate each other's effort as they acknowledge one another. Amelia admits that she has gotten stronger because of Ariane, as she was better than her at everything. Ariane also admits that she was able to pursue being a proud aristocrat to become an example for Amelia. She said she knew Amelia had doubts about how aristocrats should be, but couldn't talk to her about it. So she decided she wouldn't be someone Amelia would be ashamed of. Amelia and Ariane hug it as they reminisce about their past selves. The crowd cheered for Ariane and Amelia as they enjoyed their demonstration of sportsmanship. Claude, Amelia's father, and Ariane's father chat in the tunnel as they exit the arena. Claude doesn't seem impressed with Amelia's performance, but Ariane's father urges him to be happy for once. Ray visits Amelia at the infirmary as she recovers from the injury suffered during the fight with Ariane. Ray congratulates her and commends her for her effort. Amelia admits that if she hadn't met Ray, she would still be a bed inside a cage and limit herself instead of giving it her all. It is time for the main bracket of the Magic Chevalier as Rebecca Bradley prepares to fight against Lucas Frost. The fight lasted just a few seconds as Lucas Frost used the 8th secret technique to cut off Rebecca's rose without even breaking a sweat. The entire arena is surprised, as they never expected Rebecca, the favorite, to be defeated so easily. Frost approaches Ray in the tunnel as he exits the arena. He recognizes Ray as the Iceblade Sorcerer, with Ray also recognizing him as the Peerless Blade Sorcerer. Ray says he sees no reason why the Peerless Blade Sorcerer would participate in the Magic Chevalier, as it is a student tournament. Lucas Frost says he wants to reveal himself to the Iceblade Sorcerer, as he wants to fight him and prove that he is the strongest sorcerer. As he walks away, Lucas tells Ray to fix his overheating, as he wouldn't be able to fight him with his full strength. Abby, Lydia, and Carol visit the imprisoned Grim Reapers captured by Ray. Carol uses her spellbinding sorcerers to control the culprits as she takes them into her wonderland. As she is about to get the truth about their bosses from them, their heads explode. Abby addresses the competitors as she acknowledges their efforts and commends their hard work. The normal class activity resumes at Arnold Magic Academy. Ray suggests their class run a maid cafe for the upcoming cultural festival. This idea doesn't come up well with the rest, as they don't find it suitable for nobles to run a maid cafe. A day before, Amelia told Ray that classes and clubs need approval to be in the cultural festival, so they need to get consent during tomorrow's class vote. Amelia says she wants to organize a maid cafe. The maid cafe wasn't Ray's idea. It was Amelia's idea to organize the maid cafe for their cultural festival. Ray and Amelia convinced the class about their maid cafe idea, with Carol also playing an important role. As they exit the class, Dina runs to inform them about Rebecca's engagement, which surprises everyone. We get to see Bruno Bradley, Rebecca's father, and Rebecca's fiancé, Evans Bernstein, signing a contract about Rebecca's engagement. From the look on Bruno's face, he doesn't seem happy with the engagement. Evans meets with his partner, Paratrogo, a sorcerer who eats the engrams of other sorcerers. Paratrogo just finished devouring a supposed assassin from the opposing sub-faction. Evans tells Paratrogo that he must acquire the vessel, whom he believes to be Rebecca Bradley, for him to attain new heights and become more powerful for his revenge. Ray approaches Rebecca the next day to congratulate her on her engagement, but Rebecca, who doesn't seem happy, fakes a smile and tells Ray that she will still attend the academy until she graduates. Ray is surprised to see the preparation for the maid cafe going smoothly as Evi and the boys put in the effort to make the cultural festival a success. According to Allium, Ray's words resonated in their hearts. Ray visits the student council office to get the paperwork for the class cultural festival approved. Ray notices the empty seats and asks Dina where the rest are. Rebecca tells him the other members aren't coming because of her engagement. The secretary of the student council, Cornea, was initially slated to be engaged to Evans Bernstein, which makes the members of the student council believe that Rebecca stole Cornea's fiancé. Ray offers to help and assist the student council as Dina and Rebecca have helped him in the past. Dina runs after Ray as he exits the student council room. She says she wants Ray to help her with something, and without hesitating or knowing what it is, Ray agrees to help her. Dina says something needs to be fixed with Rebecca's engagement, as there were no talks or preparations before it was announced. Dina says there is more to who Evan Bernstein is, and Rebecca wouldn't allow her to talk about it. Dina wants Ray to stay close to Rebecca so he can at least find out what is happening about the engagement. Ray visits Miss Lydia late at night to discuss Rebecca's engagement with her. Miss Lydia asks Carla if she knows anything about the Bernstein family. According to Carla, the Bernstein family is in the upper echelons and their standing and sorcery prowess leave nothing to be desired. Ray concludes that there is nothing strange about Rebecca's engagement, since there is nothing special about the Bernstein family. Miss Lydia points out the fact that the engagement is rushed and gives an order to Carla to find out more about it. Miss Lydia learns from Ray that his class is hosting a maid cafe for the cultural festival. Ray says no soul on earth doesn't love a maid's dress, and he is in love with Carla's dress. According to Ray, when Amelia first pitched the idea of a maid cafe, Carla's beautiful dress came to mind. Ray's admiration for Carla's dress doesn't sit well with a jealous Lydia. Miss Lydia says she'd look more attractive in a maid's attire, which sparks a burst of laughter in Ray, who finds it funny rather than intriguing. Ray's outburst provokes Miss Lydia, and she attacks Ray with the icicle blades. Ray immediately apologizes to Miss Lydia, and even though she accepts his apology, she doesn't seem to be happy with Ray. Rebecca wonders why Ray is in her dream. She has yet to learn that the dream is about the Far East War, so Ray has to appear in it. Maria Bradley, Rebecca's sister, notices blood on Rebecca's towel. Rebecca says the blood is since she was hot, but Maria finds it unusual. Maria asks Rebecca if she is okay with the engagement, but instead, Rebecca tells Maria that she hopes her sister can find love. We get to see Maria's past in a flashback. She was the black sheep of the family, as everyone seemed to compare her to her elder sister, and her albino complexion didn't seem to help her in any way. Back to the present, Maria challenges Rebecca about the engagement. Maria says Rebecca wouldn't be looking sad if it was just an ordinary engagement, but Rebecca responds that Maria should go back home. The day of the festival arrives and everyone is looking prepared and ready for the maid cafe. Amelia and Eliza appear in their maid outfit, with Ray acknowledging how good they look in it. Clarice appears at the cafe looking like a zombie as her class is doing a haunted mansion. Amelia shows her support for Clarice, who doesn't like her outfit. Ray approaches Rebecca and offers to walk her home. Rebecca says she will leave the academy's dorm after the cultural festival. Evan appears out of nowhere, which leaves Rebecca startled. Ray introduces himself to Evan, who only wants to accompany his fiancée home. Rex Hale and Ray visit Miss Lydia and Carla for a briefing on Evan. Carla says there is no sign of humans living at the Bernstein Manor. It has been abandoned for several years. Miss Lydia deduces that Evan is after Rebecca's eyes, as he is a collector or sorcerer's eye, and he is involved with eugenics. Evan appears to touch Rebecca's eyes, but she shrugs him off. Evan tells her that it is a collective decision of the House of Bradley, as it will make her father stand at the apex of the great houses. Evan says Rebecca can only resist if she doesn't care about her sister's life. Rebecca has another dream about Ray during the Far East War. She sees Ray crying over the dead body of Howard before Lydia appears to pull him over. Maria visits Ray to talk about Rebecca's engagement. Ray says he will protect Rebecca with everything he has and appreciates Maria's concern for her elder sister. Meanwhile, Rebecca sees the two together and assumes they are in a relationship. At night, Ray tells Evie that he will stay up longer as he reads Luna Ether's new book. According to Ray, the story is about a girl who is a demon. The girl distances herself from everyone because she looks different from them. The girl meets a young man and learns about the human heart through him. As she develops her relationship with the young man, he becomes fascinated by the powers she has. The young man falls into despair and begins to avoid the demon girl, hoping that the young man would return so that she could understand what the feelings she had developed for him genuinely meant. The girl waited a long time. Ray has a dream about Rebecca. In the dream, Rebecca asked Ray who he was, and he woke up as he was about to tell her. Just like Rebecca, Ray's eyes bleed blood. Ray meets Rebecca as he returns from his daily morning jog routine. Rebecca tries to ask him if he was in the Far East War, but she can't bring herself to ask Ray the question, so she wishes him luck at the upcoming cultural festival. Ariane and her sister visit Arnold Academy to show their support for Amelia. Amelia and Elisa both serve the sisters a delicious delicacy. Ray appears at the Mide Coffee in lily-white form, leaving everyone stunned. Meanwhile, Clarice scares two students who walk into the haunted street. Rebecca takes Dina's advice to have fun with Ray as it is the day of the awaited cultural festival. As they walk through the haunted street, Clarice tries to scare them, but Ray and Rebecca are too relaxed. A new character in Liselotte Eden approaches Maria as she exits the Maid Café. Liselotte is the sorcerer of fabrication, and just like Maria, she has white hair. Liselotte tells Maria that Rebecca Bradley might die at this rate. Likewise, Miss Lydia tells Ray that Rebecca might die. Bruno Bradley walks in and asks Ray to save his daughter. At night, Evie notices Ray looking bothered, so he asks him to tell him what is on his mind. Evan tells his partner, Paratrogo, that tomorrow is the day the Croots will be awakened. Paratrogo is less concerned about that. He only wants to eat the Iceblade sorcerer. Maria watches on as her sister sheds tears of blood. Rebecca approaches Ray the next day as she pleads with him to look after her sister, as she will be leaving the Bradley house soon due to her engagement with Evan. Lord Evan approaches Rebecca on the street, and they both disappear together. They arrive at a strange place, and Evan says he will break Rebecca now. Ray arrives just in time to fight against the enemies, but there are too many. Amelia, Elisa, Evi, and Alium arrive to back Ray up, believing it is time to save him also. The group combines their forces to take out the monsters, although they have no idea what is going on. They ask Ray to go after Paratrogo, who heads up the mountain, while they take care of the remaining monsters. As he runs up the mountain, Ray recalls what Bruno told him. The name Bradley is a curse cast upon their bloodline because of the massive bloodshed revolving around Croots that appears once every few hundred years. Rebecca is the Croots but is far from being that, as she can't even control her sorcerer's eye. If she continues to be unable to control her powers, she might not live to see 20. Maria's being born as an albino is due to the after effect of Rebecca being born as the Croots. Liselotte Eden appears to have brought Maria and Rebecca to the mountain as she has been living as Evan. Liselotte Eden has been assuming Evan's identity for years. A furious Evan promises to kill Liselotte as he traps her in his spell. He promises to attain Akasa after killing Rebecca. Liselotte traps Evan in a pocket dimension as she manipulates the space around her. Liselotte tells Maria to say everything on her mind and that she should let Ray handle the situation thereafter. Paratrogo is excited to see Ray, who wants to feast on the Iceblade sorcerer's engram. He prepares to strike him, but Liselotte traps him in a barrier, as she has something to discuss with Ray. Liselotte Eden introduces herself to Ray as the sorcerer of fabrication. Ray immediately realizes that Liselotte set all this up. Liselotte says she will make Rebecca overheat, and wants Ray to seal it using the Chronos lock. Liselotte says she is free to use any method to say Rebecca, as that is what her contract with Bruno stipulates. Liselotte says she has ulterior motives and instructs Ray to take care of Paratrogo, as she will take care of Evan in the other dimension. Paratrogo repeatedly strikes Ray's blade but regenerates almost immediately. Liselotte appears in front of a furious Evan, who has decided his top priority will be to kill Liselotte. Liselotte, on the other hand, tells Evan that he cannot reach her as she is 2 steps ahead. Evan activates the Dark Triad system, but Liselotte is unfazed as she fully knows what it does to a sorcerer's brain. Liselotte activates Apotheosis, a destructive factor that makes one's engram self-destruct, to counter Evan's attack. In just a few seconds, Liselotte defeats Yvonne. A dying Yvonne asks Liselotte if she is the strongest sorcerer, which she tells him she isn't, as the Iceblade sorcerer is the strongest. Liselotte says Ray White is of a different caliber, as he exists in a different dimension. Suppose a sorcerer could rule over the entire world. Liselotte says the only one who could do that is Ray. Amelia and the rest of the group are exhausted from the battle against the monsters. They all agree that their improvement since the exercise at the Kafka Forest is all thanks to Ray. Suddenly, more monsters erupted, but Abby, Carol, Miss Lydia, and Carla arrive just in time to protect the students. The Grand Sorcerers attack the monsters as the students watch. Carla uses her lightning slash to cut through the monsters in a split second. Abby also combines the Debris Draco and Yamata Orochi with the monsters. Not to be left behind, Carol takes the monsters to her Wonderland, where she eliminates every single one. Finally, Miss Lydia puts the icing on the cake, unleashing the icicle blades on the monsters. Ray continues his fight with Paratrogo as Paratrogo unleashes his full power, the Man-Eater, on Ray. This spell move from Paratrogo knocks Ray off his feet, and Maria blames Rebecca for that. Maria says everything is happening because Rebecca never talks about the essential things with her or anyone else. Paratrogo grabs Ray's neck and pins him against the wall as he prepares to devour him. Ray breaks off from Paratrogo as he finishes him off with Pandora, a spell-freeing Paratrogo. The Bradley sisters have a go at each other as they vent their frustrations with Rebecca having to slap Maria twice. Suddenly, Rebecca starts to overheat while Ray regains his consciousness, and Liselot appears with Evan dead in her arms. According to Liselot, a demon seduced Evan, which made him jealous. She tells Ray to go to Rebecca as she needs him, while Miss Lydia tells the students not to get too close as the overheating is already starting. Ray tells Maria to stand back as he will deal with the situation. Rebecca admits she said horrible things to Maria, but Ray tells her not to worry about it as no one is free of conflict or worries. Just as Liselot had said, Ray stops Rebecca from overheating with the Chronos lock. Rex tells Bruno that Ray has saved both his daughters, with Bruno expressing his gratitude. Rebecca and Amelia meet outside the school and are supposed to meet with Ray there to watch fireworks. The two jealous ladies get into a heated exchange before coming to fair terms, and neither will lose. Elise and Clarice appear soon enough before Ray joins them as they watch the fireworks together. Ray visits Howard's grave as he recalls the past events and how he overcame them all. The series ends as Abby tells Lydia she can be a happy woman now that Ray has finally grown into the boy she wants.